اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد.
بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله صلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين برحمتك أرحم الراحمين. So we begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we send our blessings and salutations upon Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we also thank the Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala ajma'een. Wallahi, my brothers and sisters, I don't know if there's any upstairs. If it wasn't for the Sahaba, me and you wouldn't have enjoyed the religion the way we do. So they're the ones who really worked hard for this religion. And inshallah, before I embark on the topic, and the topic I actually chose was don't be a chicken to speak about your chickens. But the management thought that was not befitting, and so they said halal controversy, which I'm happy with as well, inshallah. So I have been told there is also a chicken barbecue afterwards. So if you're here for the chicken speech, you might even get the non-stunned chicken. That's what I've been told. But when it comes to chicken, I don't even trust my in-laws. So subhanAllah, that's how skeptic I am. I don't eat chicken anywhere except for my own house, because I believe in the simple method of zabiha. And so Al-Jannah is out and all these other chickens are out for me. So I'm actually very orthodox when it comes to my chickens. So as long as my chicken's not slaughtered with hand, I should don't eat it. But inshallah, what I will do is, I am also on the board of Halal Australia, and I'm part of the compliance and complaint department. So I will tell you everything that happens in the industry. That's my second part of the talk. And my first part of the talk is quite simple. And I want to tell you, when it comes to the slaughtering of chicken, the halal way. Now I understand you all know the ayahs and everything, and I'm not going to spend more time on the ayahs, but I'll tell you where in the Quran and what's mentioned and what's not mentioned, inshallah. Now, when it comes to the slaughtering of animal, actually before I start, I want to actually speak about a story. And the story is about Quradaghi. Imam Quradaghi actually was an imam in the time of Imam al-Khatib al-Baghdadi, who actually wrote a book called Tarikh al-Baghdad. It's a very famous book. So in that book, Imam Baghdadi actually mentions Quradaghi as one of the imams of Baghdad. Now if you know your locations really well, Quradaghi actually is a place in the east of Iraq. And so this is an imam that's come and he's living in Baghdad. This is the golden era of Abbasi Khilafah, when Islam was so widespread that everyone was invested in the knowledge of Islam. So Imam Quradaghi said, I came from east, from west, from north, from south. The scholars come from everywhere, and I was learning Islam. And I was learning. One day, I had this vision that I have to go back and teach religion to my own people. So I decided to go back. And there was a caravan being packed over there. And in the time, you know, we were buying food and everything what you needed, and then time actually came for the fresh food. And so I went to the khabbaz, to the baker. So I wanted to get some bread. So while I was getting bread, I heard the bakers, the ones who are laborers, the ones who are baking the bread, speaking about oath. And they said, don't you know Ibn Abbas said, you can actually put condition on the oath after you've made the oath. Now, the general ruling, some of you are confused. What did I say? What am I saying? We're talking about chickens. Why is he talking about oath? Why is he talking about qasam? You know, when you say uqsum billah, I will do that. So the general ruling is if you don't do something, you have to do expiation. Now the bakers are saying, you know what, if you take an oath, if you put a condition on it later on, you don't have to make expiation. Now, Imam Qurradaghi was confused. He said, this is a baker, and they're speaking about sophisticated issues of fiqh. Some of you probably, with all due respect, don't even know what I'm talking about. The point I'm trying to make, that was the time when even the labor, when even the bakers were speaking about the issues that today a learned person wouldn't even know. And that's why it's important for everyone to have that basic knowledge. And in that basic knowledge comes the chicken that you eat. Everyone that sits over here needs to have that basic knowledge of the food that goes in your mouth. So Imam Qurradaghi said, when I heard this, the bakers are speaking about such sophisticated issue. And if, just to give you an idea, Imam, when it comes to Ibn Abbas, he says, you can say that uqsum billah, and by the will of Allah, inshallah, I will do it. If you put a condition to it, you don't have to make expiation, even if you do not fulfill your oath, even if you don't do it. And he also said, you can actually put a condition later on. You don't have to put a condition then and there. This is Ibn Abbas's qawl when it comes to oath. This is what he was talking about. Imam Qurradaghi said, I didn't leave. I took my bags off and I lived in Baghdad for the rest of my life and I died over there. This is mentioned in Imam al-Khatib al-Baghdadi's book, Tarikh al-Baghdad. He actually mentions in there. Now that's a thing for me and you. We may not become that sophisticated in our lives and speak about these issues, but at least we should do fardul ayn, the obligation of the knowledge which is upon us. We should know how we pray, we should know what we eat, we should know how to make hajj, we should know how to fast, we should know how to make wudu. All these matters, we should know them. SubhanAllah, today, and I mean it, today even the doctors and all these great people, knowledgeable people, don't even know the most mundane issue of how to use the toilet. SubhanAllah, this is a basic mundane knowledge that's not even thought to be important by many people. And this is something that Islam came and taught, how to use the toilet. That's just the basic knowledge. Now going back to my topic, inshallah, when it comes to halal methods, now you need to know there's a number of conditions. Number one condition, when it comes to halal slaughter, animals should be halal. That's the first condition. You can't slaughter a pig and say, I've done a zabiha and I'm going to be eating pig. It doesn't work like that. That's the first condition. Animal should be halal, that you're slaughtering. It's an animal that's ma'loom, and that's mentioned, and that's something that is halal in nature. That's what it is. So someone actually told me in Auburn there was an Asian shop and they were selling halal pig. They said halal pig, we also sell that. So it doesn't work like that. So that's the first condition, and no one disagrees on this condition. The second one who slaughters must have the niyyah to slaughter. A man cannot just slaughter if he does not have an intention. That goes with all the obligations. If you don't have an intention to pray salah, the right salah, your salah is not accepted. If you don't have an intention to do wudu, your wudu is not accepted. So likewise, when you're slaughtering, you need to have an intention. This is unanimously agreed upon. No one actually disagrees with that. Now, and so if you accidentally kill something, just by mistake you kill something, you can't have it. That's haram. That animal's actually become haram for you. You can't have that no matter what. And so the niyyah is the second condition that's very, very important. Now third one, which all every ulama agrees unanimously. There is a difference of opinion when it comes to Ahnaf, which is the slaughter of Ahl al-Kitab. So the only ones who disagree slightly are Ahnaf in here. So who is Ahl al-Kitab? We all know over here, Ahl al-Kitab is a Christian, Ahl al-Kitab is a Jew, and if they have slaughtered a meat in the name of their God, we are still allowed to eat their meat. Why? Because they believe in the God of Ibrahim. And the God of Ibrahim is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that we believe in, that the Christians believe in, and the Jews believe in. So that is unanimously, again, this one's agreed. Even the Ahnaf, they say, if someone's on the religion of their forefathers, which is the right religion, we will still consider that meat halal. But the problem, they say, today we have casual Christians, secular Christians, secular Jews, casual Jews. So that's why they don't take this condition. So they say that this condition can only be valid if someone actually believes or follows his religion. And so that's condition number 3. So no matter what, there might be slight ikhtilaf, but it's a unanimous condition. Now, the 4th condition, and also this is something which is unanimously agreed, there's no difference of opinion on this. When you cut, the blood must gush out. So the blood actually must gush out from the throat over here. Now this is where you have to cut. Okay, this is where you have to cut 4 things. Now this is where you've got the respiratory tract. So that's the first thing that you get to. And then you've got the esophagus. So you get to that one. And esophagus is actually the supply of food that goes from there and the message that sends to the brain. And then finally is wadjan, which actually means the 2 jugular veins, which are the veins of blood. If you even cut 1, it's the meat is halal. So 3 has to be done, okay? So there's 2 jugular veins. Even if you cut 1, that meat unanimously is agreed to be halal, as long as from those 4, you're cutting 3 of them. That is something very important, okay? So everyone agrees on these conditions, that so the blood must gush out. So now, how do we know this? The blood has to gush out. Now, this is something which is mentioned in the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, this is a Bedouin actually came to him, and they said that when we are in the desert, we don't have a sharp knife. So how do we cut? Well, if we find an animal, let's say, for example, we're speaking about a rabbit or something. So if we find, so is rabbit halal? So if I mention that word, so inshallah, it is halal. So if they found a rabbit, okay, so they found a rabbit and now they have to cut it. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, anything that causes the blood to gush out, anything that causes the blood, that it just comes out like a stream, that will make it halal. So even if you've got a sharp stone, and if you cut it in a place which we mentioned, and if it gushes out, that will actually make the meat halal. This is quite simple. Also, in the same hadith, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, وَاذْكُرِ اسْمَ اللَّهِ, that also when you do it, mention the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's the 5th condition. This is where only one person disagrees and the other 3 agree. So Hanabila, Maliki and Ahnaf, Hanafis, they say if the meat does not have the name of Allah, then that meat is haram. But Imam Shafi'i said, if the meat does not have the name of Allah, then that meat is not haram, because that is only sunnah. This is where the difference of opinion is now. And that's why the majority of the scholars do not believe in the machine slaughter. Why? Let me tell you, if you've never been to a plant, in 1 minute, on the most slowest machine, you cut 250 chickens in a minute. Now I'll tell you to say 250 times Bismillah in a minute. I challenge you, all of you. 250 chickens you cut, yes.
Somebody that if the machine owner says Allah Akbar before
Yeah, can we keep the question later? But I know where you're coming from. But I will answer this question just in 2 minutes because I'm going to the hadith. You are coming from a very Shafi perspective over here. This is Imam Shafi's perspective. If the owner said Bismillah for one, now this is where the Imams completely disagree. The Hanabila said every animal should have Bismillah on it. Ahnaf said every animal should have Bismillah on it. So this is where the difference of opinion is. I will come to that. So inshallah I'll give you all the time in the world to ask questions in the end. So this question I will be answering in 2 minutes because I have, it's part of my talk and I've mentioned over here. We'll come to that. But that's a very good question. So the question was, if you did not hear, that some of them say if you started the machine and you said Bismillah, that will suffice for every chicken that's cut after that. Now let's give you perspective. Now you need to have a perspective over here. In 1 hour, in the entire Europe, and I can talk about Europe because I am in great dealing, as you know my background as well is from UK, can I speak to a lot of people there. But in entire Europe, so this is about an hour, the production line, just we're only taking UK there. So in 1 hour, production line is cutting about 25,000 chickens. Okay, so now understand when it comes to chicken, and the most consuming people in UK, the population of Muslim is 5%, and they consume 25% of the meat market. So mashallah, Muslims, we love our meat. So when it comes to that, we like the meat, we like the chickens, we like that. We make 25% of the meat market in UK. So I'm not sure about the figures in Australia, but we definitely make a lot of, we are about 3% in Australia. And so I'm sure we make about 15 or 20% around that as well. So this requires, it's a big business. Now, in halal slaughtered, which is actually being ticked by the ulama, particularly when it comes to the chicken, we have to mention this name. The man who is the most strict to take the chickens is Dr. Shabir Ahmed. I have to mention his name because he's also part of the Annex Supreme Body of Fatwa Council. He's one of those 8 people. And he does not take any chicken to be halal other than if it's hand slaughtered. And his registration stamp is for fresh poultry in Australia. So he says if you want to trust an organization which is in Padstow, that's fresh poultry. Now if your children love Brewster's actually they get their supply of chicken from fresh poultry. So if you guys need a substitute for KFC, that's the way to go for now, until we find a substitute for other chickens, inshallah. Anyways, so as I said, the ikhtilaf is, it comes to the mentioning of the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, does that mean everything is haram which is mentioned in the ayah of the Quran, which clearly says to strangle the animal, or to smash the animal, or to throw the animal from a height? All these things are considered to be haram, and this is mentioned in the ayah حُرِّمَتْ عَلَيْكُمُ الْمَيِّتَ وَالدَّمُ. So it's actually mentioned in the ayah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the blood. Allah has made one thing that dies, al-lahm al-khanzir. And also Allah says in the same ayah, وَمَا, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying anything that is mentioned لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ وَحِلَّ لِغَيْرِ اللَّهِ, that anything that is mentioned where the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not mentioned. So that's also one of the opinions there. No, also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says فَكُلُوا مِمَّا ذَكَرَ اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ, that eat something that is the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned. That's the other opinion. Also, وَلَا تَعْكُلُوا مِمَّا لَمْ يَذْكُرِ اسْمَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْهِ, that do not eat on what the name of Allah is not mentioned. This is also mentioned in Quran, okay? This is the Quranic ayah. And also that it says the name of Allah is not mentioned, it's on many other places. The Quran has this opinion, do not eat where the name of Allah is not mentioned, and only eat on which the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is mentioned. Now this is where another hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam comes. It's about the hunting. So a man says, we send our hunting animals to hunt. Now when we go and see that, we see the animal that we've sent to hunt is dead, but there are wild beasts over there as well. And I don't know, was it my animal that killed it, or was it the other animals that killed it? You know what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said? Leave that. That's not halal. This is what the hadith is saying. Because this has now become ambiguous. Because you don't know if it's the wild animals that killed it, or if it's your animal that killed it. So this is how serious the matter is when it comes to, because you only read Bismillah for your animal, you did not read it for the wild animals. See, one condition was not there, the intention to kill, because your intention to kill was from this animal that you sent. And the second thing, you did not read Bismillah, as the scholars say, for the other animals when they killed it. So that's something, okay? So also, now we all love Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala. Now let me tell you, Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah ta'ala said, the opinion of Bismillah is mentioned more than Fatiha being read in Salah is mentioned. So he's saying the severity of Bismillah on the animal is more than Fatiha being read in the Salah. Meaning Fatiha being read in the Salah when you're reading after the Imam. When you're praying, you know, the Salah, they say, do you have to read Fatiha? But he's saying there's more evidence to actually say Bismillah on your animal than reading Fatiha. And also he clearly says, he uses the same hadith, that when you send the hunting animal, he says that animal has become haram, and he mentions why, because the name of Allah is not mentioned. This is also mentioned in the same hadith. That subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, وَلَا تُسَمِّ عَلَيْهَا الْكَلْبِ الْآخِرِ, that the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is actually not mentioned. Well, meaning which dog killed it. The hadith is talking about a dog. Is it your dog or kalb al-akhir, or the dog that came afterwards? So it's mentioned over here. So what happens now? Now subhanallah, this is also an opinion. We are not discounting Imam Shafi. Also with that opinion comes another thing. What if the Muslim did not read Bismillah and he slaughtered the animal? Is my animal halal? Now that comes to another hadith which is confused in the community. And I want to give you this hadith from Bukhari. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was given a question, that these new Muslims, okay, the hadith says new Muslims, they slaughter the animal, we don't know if it's halal or not, if they've read the name of Allah or not. What should we do? Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, say Allah's name and eat it. Now some people just confuse it and say, you know what, just say Allah's name and eat it. No, the hadith clearly, this is unambiguously saying the new Muslims. So this clearly shows, this hadith, that the person, the Muslim, by default, that even if he does not say Bismillah, if he had the intention, by default, that's Bismillah. So that's where Imam Shafi also uses this argument for his favor, saying that Bismillah is just a sunnah. It's not wajib. It's not something that you say. Now what do we say? Do we discount Imam Shafi? No, we don't. See, understand, ikhtilaf in religion is beneficial. If you're Ahnaf, mashallah, you come and you pray 20 rak'ah. One day you're sick. You don't want to do 20. So there's ikhtilaf there. You know, sometimes if you're in a masjid of Ahnaf and you leave at 8, they look at you as if you murdered someone. Because over there it's important that you pray 20. You don't leave the masjid. If you're a Maliki, then you pray 34. As some of you probably are confused. You know, Imam Malik actually made it more longer because he made the recitation shorter. So there is ikhtilaf with the ulama when it comes to many things. Now, can I eat, when my Shafi friends invite me, can I eat over there? as long as my Shafi friend has done zabiha, I'll eat over there. With all due respect. So that's not something that we should be arguing over here. And we should not be fighting, or my zabiha is right and let me tell you, the modern day Hanabila, they have taken the opinion of Imam Shafi. When you go to Saudi and other places, they take the opinion of Imam Shafi, as the brother was mentioning about reading the Bismillah once will suffice, and this is what they take. But if you look at Shaykh ibn Baz rahimahullah ta'ala, if you look at Shaykh Salih al-Uthaymeen, Muhammad Salih al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, if you look at these guys, they were very strict on mentioning the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when it came to the zabiha. They were very strict. They were Hanabila. They were actually very strict in this matter. So, but the Shafis, the Shawafi', generally speaking, and if you want to know where they followed the most, are Indonesia, Malaysia, and Egypt. Egypt's a very special place. Why? Because Imam Shafi is buried over there. So if you ever wanted to go to his grave, is actually in Egypt. And the entire Egypt, Egypt actually is Shawafi. They actually are followers of Imam Shafi. As I said, are they wrong? They're not wrong. That's an opinion they follow. You take whichever's opinion, okay? So the 4 conditions, no one disagrees. This is something that you need to know. Now, is the stunning of the animal, is it halal or is it haram? Are we allowed to stun the animal? Yeah, we're allowed to stun the animal. Is it something recommended? No, it's not. It's a makruh action. It's something, if you can avoid stunning, then it's okay. If you can't avoid stunning, and it's something that you want to do, and that will achieve you the purpose. Can I eat the chicken that is stunned? Can I eat the chicken that is stunned, and then it was slaughtered afterwards, and there was life in the chicken? Yes, you can eat it. That's perfectly halal. There's no problem. Now the problem over here, which you all need to understand, is the gas stunning. Now I want to give you the legislation. I'll explain you about gas stunning. And I'll tell you what, gas stunning is the most cheapest way for the organization. Now there are 2 other stunnings as well. One is the stunning of the head with electrocution. Before you go on the line, I will give you all that inshallah. You just have to bear with me. I'll give you the technicalities of that. The second kind of stunning is water bath, which is water is electrocuted. So that's to make the chicken still. So water baths are actually one of the most common ones, which is used in Australia for many, many years. Now, how do people verify if the chicken is alive or not? It's quite easy. Normally this is the practice, but people don't do it. Why? Because it's mass production. You want to make a lot of money, you want to actually get a lot of chicken. Basically, when you're cutting a chicken, when they come out of water bath, you take one chicken out from the metal line and you place it, and don't cut it. You just place it on the floor. If the chicken is not dead, after a certain amount of time, it will come alive. That's the most easy method. And if the chicken now, I will also explain you, and Dr. Ihab, actually one of the people in the board of the masjid over here as well, is the man who actually did gave the verdict when it came to, because he is a cardiologist and he explains about the heart. Now there's a difference of opinion that you all need to understand. The Islamic death was always on the harakat. In the time of Rasulullah 1400 years ago, you did not know about the brain function. Muslims actually didn't know about the brain function. Initially, in the time of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now science has now emerged, okay? Science has evolved as well. At that time, you just looked at the harakat, the body movement. If the body was moving or the heart's pumping, and that's how they pronounce someone dead. Now when it comes to also the chicken as well, you need to understand, it's the same thing. They have the same system. So it's about the brain dying or the heart dying. What do you consider to be death? Now this is a difference of opinion between the ulama as well. Now when they looked at the chickens, the biggest issue over there was, they said the heart was still, there was some sort of heartbeat, or there was still some ECG lines in there, or there was some still movements in there. Now let me tell you, once you cut the chicken, you behead the chicken. Once you behead the chicken it still has enough life to stand up, back on the feet and run. Is the brain dead? Yes, the brain's dead. Is the heart pumping? The heart's pumping. For how long? 4 seconds. Chicken's a small species. The large species can also live up to 20 seconds. Okay, when it comes to cows, now this is where the amplification, this is where the electrocution, it all differs. Now even the zabiha slaughter uses water bath as well, which is electrocution. Why? Because it's easy. Because if you've got a line which is sending out chickens at a particular pace, and you've got 5 people standing to cut the chickens, everyone knows his number. So this is how it works. If in zabiha as well as a plant, so 5 men who are actually slaughtering the chicken, they all know the first one's going to pick up the first chicken, the 6th chicken, and the 11th chicken. The second one in the line will pick up the 2nd chicken, the 6th chicken, and the 12th chicken. The third one in the line will pick up the 3rd chicken, so they know their numbers. And that's how they cut it. So this is how the zabiha plant works as well. Because you have to mass produce. You can't just be holding the chickens and cutting them. That's the best way to do it. But they also they also use stunning as well. It's that kind of stunning. So now, when it comes to blood bath, you need to also understand, sorry, not blood bath, water bath. So when it comes to water bath, you need to understand water bath has a high rate of chickens coming back alive. They say, to be very scientific over here, there might be a 2% to 3% mishap. This is where the ulama disagree again. So if the 3% chickens out of the 100 chickens, 3 chickens were found dead, do we still consider that to be the entire practice to be halal or haram? The majority said it's halal. As long as it's not a big number which is going over 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. 10 and over. As long as it's not a big number. So there could be slight mishaps there as well. So this is something, it's very important. You need to know about these issues. Now, as I said, I gave you my opinion very quickly. And my opinion was quite simple. I believe in zabiha. I would not eat a machine slaughter because I have my reservations, and I'll explain to you about the machine as well, how it works. So when it comes to animal welfare, and I'll speak about beef as well. So very quickly, let's speak about, before we go, just very quickly about caged chickens. A lot of people say that some of the farmers are being bad to our chickens, and they throw the chickens, or they throw the animals, or they kick the animals. Am I allowed to eat that? If that chicken is cut in the halal way, am I allowed to eat that chicken or the animal? Yes, it's halal. But if you look at ethics, yes, it's wrong. You should not be beating the animal up, or you should not be doing any of that up. Why? Because ethically, this is not the practice. You will be that sinning in the eyes of Allah, and you will be accountable for that. But is the chicken halal when it's slaughtered? Yes, it's halal. Don't put, there is a movement with some of the Islamic people, oh, these chickens are being, or this animal's being beaten up, so this chicken or this animal's not halal, we should stop, we should bar. Don't do that. Why? Because everyone's different. There are people who can afford more expensive chickens, and there are people that cannot afford that. So you can't go after the industry practices and make your life difficult. If your pocket does not suffice that, it's perfectly fine to eat a chicken which the farmer was abusive. It's perfectly fine. Also, you've got the GMOs, the genetically modified chickens as well. Is that something that we can eat? Yes, you can eat that as well. As long as it's cut in a halal way, there's no problem in eating the GMO chicken as well. The genetically modified chicken as well. So, you know, I understand, you know, one of the things is, also, are we allowed to eat kosher chicken? Now let me tell you this. The kosher industry is the smallest and the most powerful. Do you know the Jews don't believe in stunning? They don't stun their chickens. And also, the Jews actually do not stun their cattle as well. In Australia, you are not allowed to put the cattle on the side or on its back. you cut the cattle, the big animal, in the V section. So basically you place it in there, it comes, it's like a collar, and then you cut it, you slaughter it standing up. You can actually see that, it's a practice. So Australia's a big beef, you're not allowed because also legislations protect animals. So the legislation of UK, not Australia, not USA, but UK and Europe, if you are using gas, the chicken has to die in the chamber. So the debate's over. If you ate a gas chicken, stunned chicken in UK or Europe, that chicken is haram. Because that's the legislation, that's the law, that the chicken has to die in the chamber. Is that the law in Australia? No, that's not the legislation. Now, Dr. Ihab clearly said this. I had a conversation with him. I will just quickly tell you what he said, because I made a note of everything that he said. So very quickly he said there was 6 stages of gas stunning, which the site was there, and this is about carbon dioxide. Now, when it comes to, also you need to understand, we have a diaphragm as well. You know, our body, the diaphragm is that we've got a cage over here. And if you turn us upside down, what happens? Our organs do not come in our mouth or in our throat, but the chicken does not have that diaphragm. As soon as you put the chicken upside down, the entire organs, they rush inside the throat. It's already suffocating. So it's already suffocating. You need to know these medical things in order to know, because the industry does not work. It's not that easy that you go there and you're sacrificing the chicken and you're looking at these things. So you need to know this. So one of the researchers, a great researcher, a Muslim one, is Dr. Awal, or he's from Ghana. I don't think so he's Awal. He's Awal Fusaini. Awal Fusaini is from UK. He's from Ghana, he's actually an African. As a doctor, he speaks about the practices of halal slaughter and everything, and he also is one of those sides of the medical science. He's got many researchers. If you type his name, Awal Fusaini, Fusaini with an F. So you find a lot of things. He speaks about the death of the brain, the death of the heart, and some really good practices, which you can actually look into, inshallah. Now, when it comes to the chicken, you need to understand, this is what Dr. Ihab said, there were different stages. Now when you give carbon dioxide, you've cut the oxygen. We need oxygen to breathe, the chickens need oxygen to breathe. He said they kept on increasing the volume. So from 18% in the first stage, it went to 32%, and in the final stage it was 62%. So he said every chicken that came out, there was 29 in that experiment. He said none of them was alive. Now also he mentioned this, and he said this unequivocally, that I do not say that gas stunning in itself completely or entirety is haram. This is what he exactly said. Why he said that? Because if you change the environment and the number of animals or the amount of gas and everything, the results will be different. Now, if everyone's scientific, if you people have studied science, the experiment and the outcome is based on the elements that you're using. And you can definitely change the outcome as well. So I am nowhere over here speaking from the scientific point of view, and I'm not going to say this, that the gas chicken in its entirety is haram in Australia or not. This is not my position. This is a position of a scientific person. My job is to tell you what are the methods of those slaughter, which I've told you. But I will also tell you about the practices. If you've heard the Anik interview, he said it clearly, that I said it, this was again, exactly his words, I'm only paraphrasing. He said, I am not saying that this in its entirety is haram, but if the outcome or the elements are changed and they're differed, the size of the species or the size of the chicken or the time of the gas and everything, that will be different. So for you to understand, Australian practice, when it comes to gassing, you don't have to kill the chicken in the chamber. That's a good news for you if you eat machine slaughter. Okay, so the chicken does not have to die in the chamber. So the Australian legislation for animal does not tell you to do that. So it's the complete choice of the production line to do that. Complete choice of the company to do that. So I'll take the questions later. Is that okay? Or can you wait, or you'll forget? You wait, mashallah, that's good. So let's, everyone, the grown-ups, let's learn from the children. Our children also have patience, mashallah. Okay, now, so you also need to know when it comes to consistency and when it comes to mechanical slaughter, when the chicken is done, after that, the chicken is placed on that metal rod or metal line, and it's hung with its legs. So you can see it, it's online, it's not something hidden. So they hang it up with the legs, and it goes through in the water bath, and that's where they are stunned, and after that it lifts up and it goes through the blade. Now subhanallah, even the videos that you watch, you'll know that the blade does not cut properly. Sometimes it cuts the stomach, sometimes it completely misses the chicken, sometimes it even just brushes off the neck and the blood does not gush out, and sometimes it completely chops the neck off and beheads the chicken. Now the question is the beheaded chicken or animal halal? That's the question. And the answer is yes, it's halal. It's unanimously halal. Is it the practice? Now the Pakistanis are getting confused. It's makruh to cut the head completely. It's not haram. You can still eat that. There you have it. So if the machine cut the complete head off, it's makruh. It's not haram. I know you probably heard from the guy who came on Eid al-Adha to cut your animal, or we can't cut the whole neck off, it's haram. You know, when you're in Pakistan, you're slaughtering your animals. Those people don't know anything about fiqh or sharia. Do you think they're the bakers of Imam, which I started? Do you think they're the bakers of that time? No. Our people don't even know how to use the bathroom. This guy knows to cut those 4 jugular veins and those veins. That's what he knows. In practice, yes, we are not allowed, we should not be cutting or beheading the animal. It's not the practice, it's not something which is considered. But if you behead the animal with the machine, can that chicken be halal? If it's cut the right way, yes, it's halal. There's no problem with that. It's makruh. Don't confuse makruh with haram. Something being makruh is not haram. This is something that you need to understand from the fiqhi perspective. Makruh, the word comes from Arabic word karah, which is something that's disliked. It's not the perfect scenario. You should not be doing that. So yes, so this is something very important. Now, as I said, in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you need to know that there are 2 kinds of activities. The first activity of the death, which is in the time of Rasulullah, is the respiratory activity. So respiratory activity means that your heart completely stops. Also, second kind of activity, it's the neurocentric activity, that your brain's dead. Now, the medical science says, which is the current day medical science, which they encourage you to give euthanasia or take the ventilator out from your family member when he suffers the brain death. Okay, when they say his brain dies, then you should actually take the ventilator out. But this is where the scholars disagree, and their safest opinion is we keep it to the traditional way, where there's still the heart activity or the movement there, and we still consider there is some sort of life. So also, this is a very technical term where you've got the cerebellum, which is the front part of the brain, which is for the movement. If that dies, your brain is not dead, which is the back. It's only the front part. Your body does not move. So if your front part of the brain dies, so this is a very scientific term thing over here, but I know this why, because also we talk to the hospitals and to the doctors when it comes to that. But now it's a matter of difference of opinion. Is it the brain that dies, the chicken is dead? Or is it the heart that dies, the chicken is dead? Also, it's a big issue. Now, when it comes to stunning, you need to understand it is not 100%. It's a machine. Now, why are these methods important in today's day and age? It's important, why? Because it's technology. It will give you fast production. Do you know South Africa, when it comes to zabiha, is one of the biggest industry. In a week, they slaughter. And South Africans are very big on zabiha. Why? There's a reason for it. Because mostly are ahnaf. Mostly are the Indians and the Pakistanis that have migrated over there, and they're the ones who control the industry. In a week, they slaughter 30 million chickens. So it can be achieved through zabiha as well, but you require more money. You need to put in more people in the slaughterhouse. Why do we promote that method, and why do I promote that method? Your machine at times is not able to cut properly. You ask anyone who's ever been to a slaughterhouse, in order to avoid the machine issues, there is a person with the knife after the blade as well. If you've ever been to a slaughterhouse, there's 2 or 3 people who are standing with the knife after the blade as well. Because they are actually going through all the chickens that are coming through the production line, if it's cut from the neck or not, if the neck's cut enough or not. So they are the ones who are cutting the necks at that time. So the zabiha is something which is achievable. Yes, you will be able, you will have to put more money in. Why? Because the machine minimizes the cost. If you get another 15 people to slaughter the chicken, then you have to pay their rates as well. And that will also be bigger. So it's all, when it comes to the machine slaughter and stunning, it is a matter of economics. It's a matter of money. It's a matter of pushing these chickens and to have a mass production. So yes, if you're eating that many chickens and that many, those many things, yes, you have to do it. You have to produce on that mass level. So, subhanAllah, one of the organizations that comes to mind, if you ever go to UK, it's an organization, you can look it up, HMC. HMC is so strict. They don't give their meat to people who sell other meat in their shops. So they ask them, why do you do that? Is it because of monopoly? They say, no, it's not because of monopoly. Because we're scared that if you put our sticker on the shop, then you might be selling other food items as well. And HMC sends every day a person to every slaughterhouse in UK. Every day there's a person who visits every slaughterhouse and he stays there for at least 2 hours to see what's the slaughter practices over there. That's one of the organizations that I have been. Oh, now you must be thinking they're quite big in UK. No, they're not. How much of the market they own in UK? Only 5% of the 95% of the halal market. They only got 5%. They're expensive. They have a product. Brothers, why are we stressing on this issue so badly? You know, when it comes to buying something, you do your research. You do so much research. You're going to go for that car or this car or that Lexus or that option. But when it comes to your food that you're putting inside, where everyone said, eat halal and tayyiba, eat something that is pure, tayyib, that is good. Understand, the haram that starts in our houses is the haram that goes inside. You know, why do you think we have to say Bismillah? Why do you think we have to have that niyyah? Because it's a matter of spirituality. Do you think that these things do anything to the meat? No, they don't. But it's a matter of spirituality, because our religion is based on spirituality. It's not just the actions that we do. It's not just the physical actions of salah that we're doing. Our mind is there. So when you put something in your inside you, and if it's not slaughtered the right way, or if it's not halal, then that corrupts your inside. That corrupts your heart as well. So it's very important that what you put inside your mouth and you allow your throat to go inside, then you actually be very careful what you're feeding your children. Because if your children are eating that and they act in a certain way, and then you complain to society, maybe the first point of action, what was the kind of food that you were feeding them? You know, I'll tell you this, and it's not that I like to brag about myself. I said to you, I agree with the Shafi'i madhab as well. My children eat al-Jannah. I go and they sit over there, they love it. But do I eat al-Jannah? No, I don't. But I like the salad over there. So I have some values. And I know our brother over there today, as you know, we're serving halal chicken at the back over there as well. I don't know about the certification, but Ahmed's over there. He can actually tell you what kind of chicken that is. So there was a joke that's going around in the ulama in Anik at the moment. The joke is, why was the chicken scared of crossing the road? Does anyone know the answer? Because there were chickens being stunned on that side. So it was scared to cross the road because it could see the chickens being stunned on the other side. Maybe you guys did not get the joke, okay, anyways. Maybe you got the... So understand, when it comes to the real reason of this machine slaughter and this stunning of the chickens, the real reasons are technology and advancement, reducing cost, and making and producing a lot of chickens. I told you, even if it's the slowest machine, it gives you 250 chickens a minute. 250 chickens a minute. You do your maths yourself. If that plant's running for 5 hours every day, you do the maths yourself. So it's giving you 250 chickens a day. With all due respect to the people that said, and then some people said there's a radio that's going on, every chicken's being read Bismillah, and that's why I put my point over there. I'm happy with your point as well, 1 Bismillah for 1,000 chicken, I'm happy with that as well. But I also have an opinion, I'm not going to eat that. I might eat the first chicken that went through the blade, but not the 999 that went afterwards. So I might ask you, what was the first chicken that came out? So we'll have a barbecue of that one. So it's important. And also you need to understand, this is something, animal cruelty. Why do you think these stunning methods are there? So the legislation for the animals are there because it's about animal cruelty. They don't understand. They think, oh, the animal, by giving him a shock, he will not feel the pain. No, that's completely wrong. Even now the doctors can tell you there's a brain activity. Even while you put them to that shock or anything like that, they go through a shock while they're being cut as well. I told you, if you are a master slaughterer, if you've got a sharp knife, this is where we need to train our people as well. You've got people who are students from overseas and they're trying to find a job. They don't know anything about slaughtering the chicken. You put them in production line. Why? Because he wants to make that $15 an hour. You've got industry which is lacking trained people to cut the chickens. They don't know what they're doing. It becomes about money over here. Why? Because you need to know what you're cutting, where you're cutting in order to kill the animal as well. It's important. You need to know, regardless if it's a chicken or not. Do you know, even the meat that you eat when it comes to the beef as well, the beef industry, which is the biggest in Australia, it's also, there has to be stun. And there is a stun that's the bullet stun, which actually it's a rod that comes out from that gun and it penetrates right inside the brain and it brain deads the animal straight away. And that's when you cut it. So also with the beef industry, they say, oh, all beef that's sold in Australia is halal. Let me tell you, brothers, don't be deluded. Some of those stunning methods actually kill the animal, and they kill the animal, the brain dead. Also, yes, again, there's a difference of opinion. I'm not here to stir the pot and to make it hard for you, but I'm telling you what the industry practices. When it comes to that bullet, it actually kills the animal, the brain is dead. Now, which life are you going to take? That life, the respiratory life or the brain life? Which one are you? Which opinion are you on? So when they say all beef in Australia is halal, that's a wrong statement. It's a completely wrong statement. I tell you to go visit the slaughterhouses of beef as well to find out what kind of stunning is happening over there. Yes, if it's an electrocuted stunning, this is unanimously agreed upon. If you stun the animal with 1 amp, okay, if it's a cow, okay, 1 amp, okay, the sheep, 1 amp. 1 amp, if you stun it with the electric shock in its brain, the animal's not dead. That is halal. But if you stun the animal, which is a double stunning, 1 amp in the head and on the heart as well, the animal dies. So this is something that you need to know in the practices as well. Now, as I told you, 4 seconds a chicken dies as soon as you cut it, small animal, right from the 3 jugular veins. If you get the 3 veins, we spoke about them. But if it's a 4th vein as well, it's 4 seconds. If it's a bigger animal, if you had the grey cut, you can actually kill the bigger animal as well if the 4 veins are cut into 8 seconds maximum. So Islamic practices are human. They're humane practices. So just by stunning the animal and putting it to sleep, is that going to save the animal? Is that going to reduce the pain? Maybe, maybe not. I'm not that kind of a doctor or that science specialist that can tell you that. But I can tell you for sure, if you know how to use the knife, if you've learned how to slaughter the animal, by unanimous agreement of the doctors, 4 seconds maximum is a chicken, and 20 seconds maximum is a cow. So that's where you do it. Okay, now finalizing, I know people are falling off like cards at the moment. So now basically, look, I like to joke around, that's my nature. Also, this is where the brother was speaking about the intention to slaughter the chicken. The intention is very important. Why I said that, I'll give you the answer later. He said, if you say Bismillah and you slaughter every other chicken. Now the difference of opinion is, what was the hadith of hunting? I send my animal to hunt that bird and I said Bismillah on that one, but there was other wild beast over there and one of them killed it. Rasulullah said, don't eat that animal. That's my opinion for you there. My Bismillah was starting the blade. And I said Bismillah and I was saying Bismillah. Let's say, for example, okay, let's not take that example. Let's say a man standing there is saying Bismillah, 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 like that. Okay, he's saying that. Now, how many times has he missed Bismillah through that blade as well? Now, let me also encourage you, go home, type the slaughtering of the chicken, which is a mechanical slaughter. I guarantee you, you'll see someone's stomach is being cut off. Someone does not even get the blade. Someone's head is completely chopped off. Someone only get a little bit of blade and all these other things. Now, I'm not going to take a lot of your time, but these are some of the practices. So brothers, again, there's a lot of things that can be said, but in quite generally, 4 principles I told you in the start, and let's go around and see if you guys learned them. Anyone wants to raise their hand and tell me all 4 principles? Yes. Very good. Very good. Well, that's been said. I'll give you half a mark for that. 2 left. Bismillah is actually something which is disagreed, is ikhtilaf, but we still got 2 more left. Sharp, very good. That's the gushing out, very good. What else? 3 out of 4 veins. Now, we've all established that. I tell you brothers, with all due respect to everyone, we are not here to tell that this guy is that, this guy is that. I will be biased. I agree with the opinion of Anik. If you don't know, I'm endorsed by Anik. I'm an imam of Anik as well. So I'm happy with that opinion because I do think that's a safe opinion. Do I agree with the opinion of Afik? No, it's not. Islam says to bring the proof. Anik put the proof on your table of a 50-page report, which you can actually read. Afik made a claim that it's halal. We're yet to see their proof. Kul hatu burhanukum. That's what the Quran says. Bring your proof. So I'm not telling you to go tell your Afik friends that you're eating haram, but I'm only telling you the principle is quite simple. Afik's made a claim, they have to show the proof. Anik made a claim, they showed you a proof. Now, in general opinion, don't eat gas stunned chicken. Gas stunned chicken, they don't want to compromise on the 5 stages. It's about carbon dioxide increasing at every stage. Dr. Ihab, he's from the board. I'm sure Ahmed can get him in and he can actually explain you the medical side of things. He said his own words, and this is going all the way because he's also the chairman of the school where I'm the imam. So I have like a direct access to him. So like a, like a special access. So I was with him and we spoke. He said the last stage was 62% release of carbon dioxide. There's no oxygen, but the level of carbon dioxide is 62%. And he said none of those chickens, the 29 chickens that he studied on, none of them were alive. And he said those are electro movements of the body. You know when someone dies, and Allah yarhamuhu, my father-in-law who died just in the December, and his pulse was pumping. This is after 15 minutes when the doctor actually pronounced him dead. And I actually was sitting right next to him at that time, and I was looking at him and I could see this pulse over there. And the doctor clearly said, he's dead, he's gone. And I could see his mouth was opening. So yes, there are some movements, those electric movements in the body, but it doesn't mean if the chicken is showing an ECG of the heart movement or anything that it's got a life in it. So brothers, inshallah, I'll conclude on that. But my opinion, if you're taking my opinion, don't take my opinion. I'm an orthodox and I'm very strict in many of the things. I always look for excellence, ihsan. So when it comes to even wearing trousers, when I wear trousers, they're above the ankle. And people make fun of me that my trousers are always above my ankle. But I'm not saying that's the only way to do it, but I'm very strict in most of my opinions. So I'm not the right person to ask this, but if you're asking me, I would not eat, even if it's my father, if I know it's a machine slaughter. And you can ask in the school with every member of the staff, I don't eat chicken. I don't eat chicken anywhere, except for broasters. That's the chicken I love, because I know it comes from fresh poultry, and I really eat it. I don't know about Ahmed's chicken, but I might just give it a pass. Anyways, we'll open it for the questions now. Can we take the child's question first, because he had a question for a long time. Yes?
If the animal eats something haram and you eat it after, can you still eat it?
That's fine. You can enjoy that taste of haram with that halal chicken. That's fine. You know, the chickens eat worms. We're not allowed to eat worms, but we enjoy that taste with the chicken. Yes? Sorry, the brother had a question first.
Thanks for your time. I've got 2 questions for you. Obviously, most of my friends are asking these questions, so I'm going to meet them. First question is, why are we discussing it after 20 years? That's my first question. And the second question is, how do you confirm that poultry, halal poultry or fresh poultry, every chicken they're slaughtering is 100% confirmed?
Do you know what? Why are we discussing it after 20 years? You'd be amazed. The people of Darut Taqwa have been talking about this for every month. They've been actually talking. Do you know the controversy that came out of the one path that was done last year? And it was all spoken about gas stunning last year as well. Everyone went quiet, because what happens when you go to these places, they change their methods. And so don't think that the people, the ulama, are not talking about this. They're worried about you. They're worried about what's going inside. But the problem over here, this is a big industry where there's a difference of opinion. So there are some imams who actually completely do not believe in stunning. There's some imams who believe in stunning. And then there are some imams who actually believe in machine slaughter. And there are some who actually do not believe in machine slaughter, like me. So it's a wide majority of difference of opinion. So basically, and also there are imams who are actually disagreeing on the death as well. I've explained to you about the death, the brain death or the heart's death. So they disagree on that as well. So my opinion, I'm only saying this, I think Afik is arguing about the brain death and the heart being dead. So that's why they're still saying that this chicken is halal. So I'm only making an assumption, okay? But now the second question you asked, how do we trust this, that we are going there? Now, there are these people, you know, like Sheikh Abu Adnan, and you've got Masjid Umar, the Imam Umar al-Banna, and you've got Dr. Shabir Ahmed. They visit these facilities on a monthly basis, and if need be, they go to these facilities on a weekly basis as well. So,
but as you say, the Quran and the people of Quran needs evidence. What evidence we have? The fresh quality is completely halal.
sorry, I didn't get your question. The people of Quran.
As you said in your lecture, that the people of Quran needs an evidence, and you guys, Anik has provided evidence to EFIC, right? As you said in the lecture.
People of Quran, I didn't get that part.
You say that we need, the Muslim needs an evidence.
Yeah, that's right.
You have provided evidence.
Also, okay, yeah, I get you
You
now.
have provided evidence to EFIC, and they couldn't provide any evidence.
Yes.
I'm not obviously in favor of EFIC, but what evidence you have? Fresh quality is completely hand-sorted.
I'm sure we can pull out something for you if you need that. And I'm trusting from the behalf of Fatwa Council that they visited that, and they definitely have an evidence. And I actually encourage you to go to Padstow, and they are very open. It's not like today when you go to eat in a restaurant, you know, sometimes you ask for the certificate. You're a consumer, you're always right. If someone tells you, oh it's halal, and this is also, I forgot to mention, to become a halal regulator, you don't have to have anything. You can go online and just become a halal regulator. This is another big thing as well. When it comes to the chicken industry, over 80% of the industry is unregulated. So with fresh poultry, I am taking the burden. I can't give you anything as evidence right now, but if you do have an email, give it to me, and I take this a burden, and I will provide you with the evidence, inshallah.
Thank you, greatly appreciate. The last question, a very short question, is how often you do the compliance check for fresh poultry?
I am not on fresh poultry.
Anyone who does the fresh poultry?
They do it monthly. Yeah. I'll explain to you my situation, how often I do it.
Do you believe there is an opportunity that they can miss the hand slaughter as well? But like for 1,000?
I don't think so. They're both Muslims, mashallah, and they're known in the community. And also, if you want to eat, they've got many restaurants as well. You have that, have you heard about that Thai restaurant in the airport? That's actually run by them. So that's hand slaughtered chicken as well. So I can't remember from the top of my head the name of the person, but Meats on Hill, their supply is fresh poultry as well. So if you get chicken from Meats on Hill, they get their chicken from there. So fresh poultry is one of the biggest player of hand slaughter in the market. And there's another one which is Gigilo, which is also another big player in the market. And they are also hand slaughter. They're in, see, I'm not very familiar with these places. That's on the way towards Liverpool. Bonnyrigg, there you go, that's it, yeah.
The last one is a brutal question, but again, is there any trying to affect the EFIC business?
I'll come to that question. Can we come to the controversial part? Because I love controversy, you know. I am an imam of controversy. Can I come to that later? Or we've got a brother here, and then I'll come to you.
I think it's quite clear in terms of what obviously the practices are that you've explained today in terms of what makes something halal and haram. I think the issue we face now is, as you mentioned, you probably touched on it a bit just now, anyone can create a business, become, name themselves as a halal certified and provide certification. My question is more about, does the onus fall on the person providing the certification to butchers, as an example, or is it the onus fall back on the butcher for accepting that certification and then selling that product, or is it on us as consumers of that product? Should we do our due diligence, internal research first? So I'm just trying to understand where do we draw the line?
The onus actually falls on everyone. Now we know the practice of chicken. Now the onus is directly upon us. Let's not worry about the supplier. Let's not worry about the butcher now. When you know something is now become ambiguous and you don't know if it's unanimously agreed upon, where there's two committees which are actually debating against each other, now it's our responsibility. I ask you, I put a question in for, when it comes to our research in everything else in our life, and this is how the onus is. See, when it comes to the Fardul Ain, and this is part of Fardul Ain, when you pray, let's say, for example, and if you did not do wudu and you come and say, I actually did not know that you have to do wudu to pray, is your salah accepted or not? That's a question I'm asking from a fiqh point of view. It's not accepted. Why? Because part of salah is to make wudu as well. So you can't say, I just prayed and I didn't know about wudu. You can't say that. You have to start from there. And so when it comes to what we are eating, you know the practices of the industry. Now I want to actually put this in front of you now. I spoke about the market that the Muslims consume the most meat. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam clearly told us, and if you look at his life, he did not consume meat at that often. He did not. He was more like a vegetarian. When it came to red meat, it was once in a while. But we love our steaks and our chicken so much that we can't give it up. And one of the things, I jokingly say, the Pakistanis today, if your children are more than 6 feet, then it's that GMO chicken that your child loves. Because no one in your family was 6 feet. Because you've been actually feeding them the GMO chicken. My son is only in year 8, mashallah, he's taller than me. And I tell him, because he loves chicken, only thing that he eats is chicken. So when you eat this genetically modified food, it affects you. It affects your growth as well. When the chickens are growing in a minute or two, or a day or two, then what do you think our body is going to happen as well? I'm amazed. I look at some of the Pakistani children nowadays, they're the tallest in the school. And I tell you, you go do your research, the average height of a Pakistani was 5'8", 5'9". 5'9" was a blessing. So if you are a Pakistani, you can resonate with that. Now I'll come back to your question. Who is trying to pull each other out? This has always been the case, that I am the authority, I am the authority. That's always been the case. Now this is where the problem is. Who do you take as authority? Now if you believe in Anik, then you have to just go with that. If you believe in Afik, then you have to just, by Allah, you have to trust their judgment, but you have to ask them what's their evidence as well. So I'm not here to discount one or the other, but if you were to ask me who I would take an authority, you would look at which government of Australia takes as an authority, which you clearly were shown in the iftar, that the Prime Minister came to annex iftar. See, I'm still confused with these terminologies. The Premier of New South Wales actually came to the annex iftar. So the government also Ahmed went to annex iftar. So wherever Ahmed's going, that means that's the authority that you should be looking at. So I hope that answers your question. But sorry, one more question there. Yes. Anyone had a question here?
I was going to ask about this genetically modified, animal. So which poultry, or is it fresh poultry, they raise the children?
Yeah, look, everyone does that. Me and my wife, we always have debate, should we eat caged eggs or not? I love caged eggs, and they're cheaper as well. Whenever I go, I get the caged eggs. Whenever my wife goes, she gets the open range eggs. And it's not very good for the pocket. So if you're asking for the Islamic practice, it's okay to eat either of them. And personally myself, I don't know if fresh poultry is involved in that GMO thing or not, because I haven't done that part of the research. But ethically, we should be avoiding these things. Why? We should be helping the farmers who are doing the right thing, and they're doing the right thing by the animal as well. Yeah. Oh, sorry, he had a question a long time ago. Yes.
I think as a community, we need to think larger benefit of the community. What these authorities are doing, they first created a moon sighting fight. Now this hand slaughter, machine slaughter. What these authorities are doing, benefit of the community. Are they starting their own slaughterhouses to serve the community, or what they're doing?
Okay, this is a very good question, and this will be entirely deleted. So, in reality, AFIC never endorsed itself for becoming or mufti or anything. AFIC was the oldest body in the 80s that was started for few practices, which was marriage celebrancy. They would endorse a person. Every Anik Imam is actually endorsed by Anik to be a marriage celebrant, by the way. So I'm a marriage celebrant and I have my license of marriage celebrancy from AFIC. So because they're the ones who are recognized by BDM, birth, deaths and marriages. The other thing that they took on was scripture. And the other thing also they took on was halal certification. They never spoke about mufti or anything like that. LMA had their standing because that was the oldest masjid. The person that was the imam of LMA, which was the Lakemba, he was called to be the most knowledgeable and people would go to him, like Hilali. Sheikh Hilali was a mufti of Australia for a very long time. And that was not. So now we need to be organized because the government, you need to show that. Why do you think the fight is always there of the moon sighting? Because Sheikh Shadi came very close to give us all a holiday. Now they take the opinion of, when it comes to this is the greatest opinion of the Sheikh of Egypt. One of the Sheikh, which is Sheikh I'm actually just completely forgetting his name. His name's something like Sheikh Taj. So he, in 18th century, he said, if the moon, because we're in the era of, because you see the calendar over there when it comes to our salah and everything. So he said, if the moon's born before the sunset and sets after the sunset, then we will take it as if the new moon is born. You don't have to go out. So that's Anik's philosophy has always been that. Now this year the opinion differed. Why? Because it was only 2 minutes after the sun was set. So they sat down and they said it's really hard. 2 minutes will not be enough to suffice to actually see the. But Afiq just went with the general principle. The moon is setting after the sunset, so we are going to take that. So they also took it as an opportunity to use this as showing that we are also one authority, we have an opinion, and so this is where the fights happen. See, I tell you this, every profession, and mashallah we've got a great imam over here, Sheikh Mahmood, he's a very welcoming person, but generally if you have 2 imams in one masjid, there will be a conflict. Generally if you have 2 engineers working in the same plant, there will be a conflict. People are generally like that. So people are arbitrary. So this one wants to be better. I'm happy to be in the background and I'm happy for you to give all the questions to Sheikh Mahmood because I'm a freelancer, I just float around. So but I'm happy to take all these questions as well. And by the way, Sheikh Mahmood, with all due respect, is a Shafi and he believes in the 1,000 chicken being slaughtered with one Bismillah. And I respect that opinion as well. As I said, I will eat his chicken, the first one, not the other 9.99.
But my question was not related to doing something or anything. I'm saying what these authorities are doing, helping the community or not. They are creating division, confused decision, rather than why they are not working on solution. Where they create their own slaughterhouse, we are happy to support them if they require it. What they are doing, that's my question. If we are living in a country which is combination of all over the places, how we can unify this?
Well, look, if you're happy to do that, I can get you in touch with the people where they can unify, where people can come together. As I said, Zabiha is achievable. It's an industry that's achievable even without stunning the animal. When the Jews have the right not to stun the animal and slaughter it the way they want, Muslims also have the right. That's why Muslims are pushing for the agenda now. If you put pressure on the community, then the community will act in a certain way, which is the slaughterhouse community. But because we go by the flow and we're more worried about McDonald's and we're more worried about KFC and we really don't unite, then that's when the problems come. Yes. This will be the final question because the chickens are waiting on the barbecue. Is it?
The chickens were supplied via Giglio's. I just need your permission to find out whether we can do it. So my wife says don't do it because you're going to create controversy. So we'll postpone it.
So the barbecue chicken has been postponed. Okay, it's by Giglio's, so I'll definitely please invite me as well.
I'll get this on
We'll take the question. I trust him because if he was invited by Anik, then I can trust him.
Say about what was that about Giglio's?
What, you want to put me on the camera? Well, I am like a politician. You know what Rees Mogg said? You know what Rees-Mogg was asked by Piers Morgan, do you believe in same-sex marriage? You know what he said? I am a devout Christian and I follow the teachings of Jesus Christ. So I am a devout member of ANIC and I follow the teachings of ANIC. So you can put that on camera if you like. Well, if ANIC has endorsed Giglio's, then I endorse them as well. I don't know about this. So I did say if. In English, if is a very, very important word.
A restaurant or a butcher, how do you know that
You ask him straight away, where's your chicken or your meat supply? Or you can ask him straight away, they've got a certificate. He can't just show you that halal 100%. He can't show you. You know when you go to the kebab shop, they point at that 100% halal?
expired?
No, it's just it's a sign which says halal 100%. I don't want that 100%. I want to see the certificate.
Yeah, but whose certificate is?
That's where you need to know if it's fresh poultry, if it's tegels, they have it on the certificate. And you have to make your decision based on that. Yes?
I think also it's very important that, you know, there's a lot of guys that may be buying fresh poultry or whatever it is, and they're not Muslim, okay? I think it's very important that we support our own and you know, if they're buying fresh poultry or Giglio's or whatever, you know, it's better that we put our money in Muslim hands.
That's right. 100%. I completely endorse that, even on the camera. So if it's a Muslim brothers, you know, they're getting it from there. Even they're local, we should be supporting the local Muslim businesses.
Yeah,
you know,
if you go to fresh poultry website, or you know,
they have an entire list of people that they are actually selling. Yes. Look, this is, as I said, it's a really big topic. We can have a part 2 if you like, but I've given you the industry practices, and I also encourage you tonight, go on your YouTube, the one that you love. You know, you go sit down and you browse. Today is your job to look at how the chickens and meat and beef and cows are stunned in Australia. It's not hidden. You can actually see it for yourself. And I want you to decide for yourself tonight when you're watching them. So the 3 ways of stunning the chicken, you can find all 3 ways. The stunning of the head, where the chicken comes inside and then it's a bracket. It actually squeezes the head and it stuns the head with the electric shock. The other one's the water bath, which is the electric running inside the water, where your chicken is lowered and it's electrocuted there. And the last one is the gas chamber, which is the one which is in communication, where they take 100 chickens and they put them, stack them inside. If you see that box over there, kind of like that, it's a chamber, and they open the gas in there, which is carbon dioxide. So they suffocate them in there. So they're actually in the cages. You can actually place them in the cages. You don't have to place them on a rod or anything. You just put them inside the chamber and you open the gas on them. It's 5 stages through that as well. Now, the slaughter of a large animal in Australia is a V-section. It's like a collar. You put the cow in there. By legislation, you can't put the cow down on the floor on its side or on its back. Has to be standing up. Does that change it from haram? No, it doesn't. If it's a practice, we can employ that practice as long as we are cutting those veins, inshallah. Guys, I need to go to buy bread and milk, and if I don't do that, I'm not going to be able to enter the house, and I'll be actually looking for a chicken outside myself then. So inshallah, we'll close off. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to guide all of us, and I really thank the community for coming out in such a number, and we are going to be coming with a new topic next week. I will be talking about another controversial issues. I like controversy. I like to be on the media. That's, you know, they say in Urdu, there is a saying, it's a famous saying, "Bad naam na hoge to naam na hoga." So I believe in that philosophy. So, you know, there's 2 ways to make your name. One is that way, by doing good things, and the other way is by actually becoming that figure in the community that everyone hates. Inshallah. Jazakumullahu khair.